My first stop is on the northwest corner of Robinson Drive and South Ave in Rochester. The significance of this spot is that this is where Frederick Douglass's first house in Rochester used to be. The reason that it's not here anymore is because of arson. Nobody knew what happened or who did it or anything. Anyway, years later, they built a school here, and to the left of the picture, they have a sign with plenty of information on Frederick Douglass's life. My next stop is here, on Hamilton Street in downtown Rochester. In 2003, local historians researched and discovered that this house was once owned by Frederick Douglass. This house was not known to have been lived in by Frederick Douglass for well over a century. For 3 years now, this home has officially been a local landmark. Here on East Main Street in downtown Rochester is the Talman Building. From 1847 through 1863, Frederick Douglass published nationally significant anti-slavery newspapers from an office here. The original paper was called the North Star. The name came from when escaped slaves would follow the North Star to freedom. Frederick Douglass was first introduced to the thought that inspired the North Star after subscribing to The Liberator, a weekly newspaper published by William Lloyd Garrison. Over time, as he becomes more famous, and as the paper becomes well known, the newspaper becomes titled Frederick Douglass Paper, and then becoming Douglass Monthly. Here in beautiful Highland Park is the statue of Frederick Douglass. This statue was the first of an African American in the United States. This monument of Frederick Douglass was dedicated by Theodore Roosevelt, who was governor of New York State in 1899. The original location was near the railroad station, but due to the fact that smoke and congestion became heavy, city authorities moved it here in 1941. Also, on the side of the statue, there are 3 quotes from important speeches by Frederick Douglass. My next stop is here, where Frederick Douglass is buried, in Mount Hope Cemetery. Frederick Douglass wanted to be buried here because he felt like he made the biggest impact while he was here in Rochester, New York. When my dad and I stopped for a tour here, this is one of my favorite spots to visit. The reason being is because he has 2 different stones. One of the stones says that he was born in 1818, and one of the stones says that he was born in 1817. The reason they had 2 different dates is because he never knew when he was actually born. He never knew when he was actually born is because the slave owners never really cared about the slaves, so they never wrote down when his birthday was. This has always affected Frederick Douglass because he never even knew how old he was. Another unique thing about here is that this is exactly where the slaves would run through and when they were escaping on the Underground Railroad. If you look around here, right here is where they would run.